It is 17:03 or 5:03 p.m. It is October 24th. This is the Board of Directors meeting for the Windham School District, and we'll call the meeting to order. First line up on the agenda is public comment. So are there folks here for public comment? Not seeing any hands. Anybody in the audience here? Oh, I see a hand. Barbara Jean Quinn, go ahead.
Okay, I just have a question about, I heard there was a daycare being run in the school now. Is there anywhere I can read information about that in terms of how to sign up, who's running it, insurance liability, all of those, the technical things that are involved with licensing and whatnot to run a daycare? Is there anywhere I can get that information?
So right now it is private childcare. They're working towards getting their certification for daycare. So, Daniel, do you have any guidance to answer Barbara Jean's question?
No, I'll connect you with the program director, the prospective program director, and we can definitely share more details.
That'd be great.
Yeah, but we're still working through the phases with the licensing.
Okay, and in terms of where's the money coming from for this daycare? Is it in the school budget or?
It is not.
It is not. Okay,
Yeah.
Are they renting the space?
Pending the licensure was the agreement. It's just taking longer than we expected.
So they're running a daycare unlicensed right now.
It's a private childcare, so it's not. We're not claiming to be. They're not claiming to be a daycare. It's a private childcare until licensure comes through.
Oh, so it's not actually in the public school setting then? It's in someone's home?
No, it's at the schoolhouse. Yeah, and currently they sign waivers. So our waiver system that we have.
Okay, so it's a private daycare being run.
Private childcare.
Okay, childcare being run in a municipal building, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And there's no concerns about liability or cost. All of that's all kind of just being worked out.
Yes and no. So we have, yes. So we have we have a waiver from Visbit that they sign in on, and that covers school from any potential incident. So
you can hook me up with somebody that can give me more specifics on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. That'd be great if you could shoot an email to me with that contact person. That'd be great. And I think you have my email.
Yeah, I have your email.
Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara Jean. We have two hands raised in the audience, and I see Maureen's hand is up as well. Russ, I'll go with you first because you were here last week when we weren't able to meet. So go ahead, sir.
My question is, since it's a private daycare, who is benefiting from it? Which families?
Private childcare. It's my family and another family, Kehoe's.
I see. Is the Kehoe individual a resident of town?
It doesn't have to be for the use of the building. So like, for instance, we had a worker center seminar recently. There are plenty of folks that came in outside of town.
But if it's that way, there should be a lottery system so those people that want to use it can apply, and if there's only 2 spots, then the winners of the lottery should be the ones to use it.
Well, if there is such interest, I'd be happy to promote that.
Okay, so, and what I want to just acknowledge too as well with public comment, that public comment is generally a public comment and it's not going to be a back and forth. So just to keep that in mind, as I see Crystal's hand is up as well. If we're able to, we will answer, but it is not the expectation. So just be clear, your comment is to be a comment and the board can take that information and address it at another time. So Dr. Sherry, go ahead.
I think it's opportune to be able to use the school as a daycare, but are there formal contracts between this private entity and the school/town? And if so, what are the fees that are involved in this? I'm concerned that if you have a private entity, that it be a upfront business entity that protects the town from liability and protects and also helps the town pay for the overhead, because we wouldn't be heating this at 70 degrees for kids and whatnot. And has there been a legal entity that has looked over these potential arrangements?
Okay, so Daniel, did you hear Dr. Cherry's question? And is that something
Yeah, I
we can
did.
get him an email and
So-
a response?
Yeah. So first of all, going back to the waiver. We do have in place a document that is signed regularly to cover the school from an insurance standpoint. The private childcare, not daycare, and I'm using that purposely, does have an LLC and is going through licensing. The agreement that we made with them is that once licensure comes through and they're able to open up past two families, then we would start a contract, which we do have in place when that happens. And we do have an agreement for an amount, I believe. I have to look at it, but regardless, we have had our legal professionals look at it. We have a contract ready to go once licensing comes through. And as far as the costs to say like taxpayers and et cetera, it's all baked into our building maintenance anyways. So there's been zero impact. It's the same way. We have to keep the school and it's governed by the SU at a certain temperature anyways, especially during winter, so we don't depreciate the building.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Maureen Bell?
Yeah, hi, thanks. I guess my question got answered just now. I thought I heard Dan say that they weren't paying any rent until licensure, and he just confirmed that. But that doesn't make any sense to me, particularly when the Energy Committee is coming into the building and you're essentially charging them a fee, that being the cost, the production cost of the storm inserts. How is it that you're using the build? How is it that the child care group is using the building without paying for it? I don't understand.
Happy to reiterate. We set up an agreement that once licensure happens, then we would put forth the contract, which we already have ready to go. And yeah, that's the deal with the regional energy commission is a little different. The rent covers inserts that will help protect the building through the elements. So we set the exact rent amount to be the cost of materials. It's a deal we worked out with the town originally, and I told Bill Dunkel this, that we didn't expect any rent to be able to use the building and bring in volunteers. But that said, if they're able to work out something where we can bring down our maintenance costs just by getting those window inserts for our district, but ultimately we'll be passing off the building to the town or another entity, and they'll appreciate that those cost savings from the maintenance.
No, I fully understand what the window inserts are, but they're going to cost the town $600 to $700 estimated.
That's correct. This was done in coordination with the select board.
I think you're missing my point, but thank you.
Crystal, go ahead.
I'm just going to touch base on the daycare, because at this point, It's a private entity. They are not paying to use the building. Therefore, I believe a 30-day timeline should be set up for them to move this private daycare into their home, because it's been a few months that you guys have been waiting for licensure. And I agree with Maureen. I mean, we are charging a town committee to use the building, and we're letting somebody use the building for free while they're waiting for licensing. And the building, if nobody was in it, would not need to run at 70 degrees.
Thank you, Crystal. Okay, anybody else for public comment? All right, moving on to changes to the agenda. Is there any changes that anyone would like to make to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to correspondence. We have a letter that was from Mark Oettinger regarding the tuition reimbursement. And I think I have that on here. I could probably read it if folks would like me to read it. Let's see. So in the letter, Dear Windham Town School District Board, you have asked for my opinion about a group of requests that you've received from our Windham families who have 6 children in the aggregate, who privately tuition their children to one or more independent schools when the district, at the direction of the Vermont Agency of Education, sent all of its elementary students to a neighboring public school for the spring semester of 2024. The context was Windham's loss of staff and resulting challenges in affording resident students a high-quality educational experience at Windham. It's also important to add that the district's electorate just recently voted to cease operation of Windham Elementary. I'm attaching a copy of the Acting Secretary Heather Boucher's letter dated December 18th, 2023. That letter purported to require the district to proceed as it did. The families who seek reimbursement cite my comments at a recent board meeting in support of their claims. The question of precisely when the district's obligation to afford both public and independent school choice essentially kicks in under your circumstances is one that is, to my knowledge, unaddressed in case law to date. We are therefore left to interpret the related statutes in accordance with traditional principles of statutory construction. In her letter, Deputy Secretary Boucher refers to the temporary ceasing of operations, emphasis supplied, of Windham Elementary. 16 VSA 821 invests the power to close schools in the electorate as opposed to the board. Did the district have the obligation to offer independent school choice during that temporary ceasing of operations that was required by the AOE? Perhaps. Again, that was a question of law that has, to my knowledge, never been squarely addressed by court. Were the issue to come before court, how would it be decided? That is hard to say. Clearly, the right public or private tuitioning is required by law starting with the 24-25 academic year as a byproduct of the recent electorate vote to close the school. What about the spring semester of 2024? Should families have been offered private choices in addition to the public option that was required by the AOE? Quite possibly. We can fault the board for not identifying that particular issue in the face of the AOE's edict. I would say not. Note also that if the families who chose to privately tuition their children to an independent school asked the district to pay the tuition, and if they were denied, they had 30 days within to appeal that decision to the secretary pursuant to 16 VSA 821C. If they did not do so, I do not see how they can do so now. How much tuition is at stake here? If 4 families were to be reimbursed for a half an academic year for 6 students at the statewide average announced elementary school tuition rate, I project that total would be approximately $50,000. Where would that money come from? My understanding is the district has approximately that amount in reserve and that these funds have been provisionally earmarked for replacing an aging school bus. The district could also potentially borrow money, although the 2024-2025 budget includes neither the necessary funds nor the necessary borrowing authority. Either way, there is another more practical and fundamental problem, which is the 2023-2024 homestead tax rate was calculated based on student count and tuitioning data that was in place during the fall 2023 semester. Were the district to reimburse the claimants during the 2024-2025 fiscal year for $50,000 of unplanned liabilities arising out of the 23-24 fiscal year, both the 23-24 homestead tax rate and the 24-25 homestead tax rate would arguably need to be recalculated. The logistics associated with trying to unwind this process would be essentially impossible. Long story short, we return to an earlier part of the analysis. If the families who choose to privately tuition their children to an independent school ask the district to pay tuition, and if they were denied, they had 30 days to appeal that decision to the secretary pursuant to 16 VSA 821C. If they did not do so, in my opinion, it is too late for them to do so now. The tuitioning parents had a public option offered to them. They chose to pay privately for a different option, and they did not file of appeal and any denial in time. The board, on the other hand, acted in good faith pursuant to an unambiguous letter of instruction from the AOA. Sincerely, Mark Oettinger. So that is the letter that was provided. This was back in June. So for families that have asked that question, that was the response from the attorneys, and I believe people received that. It will also be included in our correspondence. The Windham School District letter for Energy Commission storm window project. I'm going to drink some water. Daniel, are you on? Can you handle that one? Oh, why is this tiny here? What the? Did we lose Daniel? Well, everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, I lost connection for a second.
Oh.
Can you restate?
Yes. So I just read Mark's correspondence. So the Windham School District letter for the Energy Commission storm window. Do you want to talk about that one? Because I'm.
I do not have it in front of me. Do you have it in front of you?
I don't, but we have the letter. We're moving forward with the windows. Everything's been slated, and Bill Dunkel has been wonderful in coordinating with this. We're super excited to have them here and to be able to also have the school benefit from getting a little bit more insulation through the colder months. Moving on to old business. So minutes are not done. So that is not going to be able to be in there. And we were going to have to address that. And I think we can kind of figure out as we move down the agenda here how that could change. So we can move on to financials discussion. The pay order number, I don't actually have that in front of me. I think there were 2 pay orders.
Abby, I have the information. Do you want to write it down?
Yes, please.
So pay order number 4, dated 10/10/24, in the amount of $34,687.63. And pay order number 5, dated 10/17/24, in the amount of $1,954.86.
$1,954.86?
Correct.
Okay, so I move to approve pay order number 4 in the amount of $34,687.63, and pay order number 5 the amount of $1,954.86. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I have a question. I'm wondering how you can approve pay orders that you haven't seen. Usually in order to approve the pay order, you have to see it and what the details are of the pay order, not just the amount that's on the pay order, but the items that are in there. And neither of you have acknowledged seeing them, so how can you approve them?
So, well, we have seen them, and they are done through DocuSign? DocHub. So that stuff is sent to us through DocHub. We review it, and it can be signed electronically. And we also make sure we are motioning in the meetings to make sure that the motion is in public as well as
Could I ask
electronic.
Heidi to reiterate some of the expenses that are detailed on those pay orders?
Is there? Yep, go ahead, Heidi.
I said, if you just give me, I was going to say, if you want me to do that, just give me a minute to bring it up on my computer because I wasn't prepared for that. But that's up to you.
So is there anything in particular that you're asking about, Russ?
I just want to see where the money's going. I know we paid tuition to the schools already, so that's a fairly large amount of money. I'm just wondering how it's being spent. Where's it going?
So if you would like to share, Heidi, some of the answers for that, I think that's fine because taxpayer money.
Okay, but I will bring that up on my computer. Just give me a moment.
Ooh. And while she's looking that up, I do want to add under new business. I didn't see unless Bob touches on in his superintendent report the bus updates. So
I have not heard more on that, but we can talk about it when we get to that part of the report, sure.
Excuse me, Abby, I had a question about the minutes. Can we go back to that while Heidi is looking for the document she's looking for?
sure.
You said that neither of those sets of minutes are ready. Don't you have a legal obligation with a time frame to have those minutes ready?
Yes, we do.
Why aren't they ready then, please?
Well, we had a minute taker, and the minute taker was unable to stay with us, and then we had our clerk stepped down, and so we have been trying to kind of fill in a lot of spaces and dealing with stuff with things have just been pretty crazy. So our hope is that we will have under new business that there may be an appointing of another school board director tonight. And if so, then that would be clearly a huge help to make sure that this is not an issue going forward, because it's been pretty challenging for us, for sure. I will say we were very blessed to have BCTV, at least as far as I know. It's not an excuse by any means. However, anyone with questions can easily go and review and see the videos are recorded of the meetings. They do an excellent timeline underneath the videos that really break down essentially kind of the agenda. So it's kind of quick if there's a certain topic that you're more focused on than others, that you can get to it pretty quickly and review it. So there is that option for folks that are wondering or want to know what they have missed.
Yeah, well, you're right. That doesn't address the issue.
Okay, this is if we're going to continue with minute questions, we're going to move on from the minutes. So
The
Okay,
point I would
I
like
have,
to go ahead.
I have the document, so I can tell you that of the pay order number 4, that was 34,000. There is the first assessment for the SU because that hadn't been paid yet. There is a first semester tuition bill for the students, elementary students attending Townsend. There's legal services to Montreal Oettinger. There's an electric bill, well, the fire alarm inspection, and there are solar credits that are being paid for out of that particular pay order. There's also a phone bill. Looks like that is the completion of that first one. I do know in the second one that the window dressers was one of the bills, which is why we ran the second AP run, because I knew that we were trying to get that paid by a certain date. Do you want me to look any further?
I think that's fine. Thank you, Heidi.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, so we are moving on to new business. So, appoint new school board director. Daniel, you there? I think I might have lost him.
I am. Went to unmute and clicked end. Go ahead.
So we're on to the section of appointing a new school board director. Is there any information you'd like to share on that?
Yes, we've gotten interest. I believe they're in attendance. Howie has offered to rejoin the school board. And I don't suppose Howie might want to say a little bit about their time previously on the school board and their interest joining back the school board.
Yeah, actually, I was never on the Windham Elementary School Board. I was on the Leland Gray School Board for probably about 15 years. And I am just trying to do my civic duty and help out here because I know you guys are short on the school board member.
Excellent. Well, we will definitely appreciate some of the institutional knowledge that you possess to help us with all the challenges that we've been navigating. So I think for that, we're going to motion. Would you like to motion, Daniel?
Sure. I motion for Howard Ayers to be appointed as a director of the Windham School Board.
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Well, welcome aboard, Howie.
Thank you.
Oh,
Welcome, Howie.
well, thank you very much, sir.
Hope I
So,
can be helpful.
So now with that, Bob, I know he's gonna have to take the oath and all the signatures and that stuff. How quickly will we be able to kind of get Howie on board?
Well, he'll need to go get sworn in at the town, and I think that's pretty much it at this point. If you guys have said yes, he needs to go through that process of being re-sworn in, and then he's good to go.
Excellent. So write this down. Okay, and then once that's done, he can get set up with email pretty quickly, so we can get all that squared away and have another person helping drive the bus here.
Yeah, soon. Actually, as early as tomorrow, I'll put it in motion to get an email set up and all that, and make sure we have everything ready to go. I'm pretty sure I have his old contact information to help speed that along. But we'll be good to go with that. And then for the next board meeting after he's sworn in, he'll be an official member ready to vote on things.
Excellent. All right. Okay. So, Bob, we're moving on to you. Superintendent report. You have the floor, sir.
All right, thank you. So, a couple of things. I know that what you mentioned, the bus is the possible topic here. I understand that there have been some additional challenges with the bus. There's been some breakdowns that have been occurring, and we've tried to figure out some short-term solutions. But I know that Cord was in communication with Greg. I don't know what the most recent indication was from that. But I think one of the conversations I had with Greg recently was that, it might be a time to start thinking about accessing your transportation reserve. It's a little earlier than what you had anticipated, but you may have some value still for trade, and consider replacing the bus with your reserve fund that you've already set aside to move forward on that. But I don't have that exact recommendation yet. I'm just saying I think we're really close to that, if not there. But I would want to defer to Cord and Greg with more information. And I don't believe that I have that information today, unless Heidi or Lori knows more than I do.
I have an email from Cord that we got that said that he picked up the bus and returned the West River bus, and so everything is back to normal. They found that it was a damaged coolant line that only leaked when the bus was up to temperature and moving. So it wasn't visible when the bus was stopped or parked. They replaced the line, and after extensive test runs, it drove back with no issues, and Cord will be keeping an eye on it. The board will be getting a bill submitted for the mileage to help cover the cost and wear and tear on the bus that we borrowed. And a big, huge thank you to Todd Lawley for all the help in getting this taken care of, and for Cord and Greg. All that collaboration I know is challenging and last minute at times, and appreciate you guys doing all that. So that was just what I wanted to, I wasn't sure if you knew that part, Bob, but go ahead with the rest of your update, and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So last night we had the SU board retreat, and one of the key items on the agenda there was a discussion around the SU board makeup. One element of that was that once Windham became non-operational, that according to the SU bylaws, non-operational districts have only one seat on the SU board. And so the board last night took action. And I think I mentioned this to this board earlier, this was going to happen, but they took action to reduce the Windham representation from 2 to 1. They did not change their other voting members, so their overall total SU number of seats went from 14 to 13. And so no other changes happened, but they did remove Windham from 2 to 1. And I guess, I'm trying to remember who the two were. I want to say it was Rory and Dan, but I don't remember specifically. But you guys will have to make a decision, and maybe you can wait till next week when your new board member's on, and figure out who will be representing Windham as the one person. Additionally, just to report out, I did a report to the SU board last night, where we had all of our different directors reporting out on what they've been up to. The slideshow will be available on the website. I did spend a little bit of time talking about some data from the AOE and some of the pending fiscal challenges that are coming our way. And I had originally titled it our doom and gloom report, but really, as a couple of people pointed out, it isn't really doom and gloom. It's really just reality. And so a lot of challenges are coming our way. You guys are going to be sheltered from a number of those challenges being non-operational, but not entirely. And so anyways, that was the report from that. You guys have my cabinet report as well for October. And I think that's it, unless you guys have any questions.
Any updates as far as like the West River potential consolidation stuff and anything going on with that?
Yeah, so that board at this point has not acted to move anything forward. They have a subcommittee putting together answers to a series of questions that they collected from the community sessions. And they're creating like an FAQ document that will be on the website at some point soon. Hopefully, they're hoping by the next meeting, so that people can see some of the answers to those questions. And then I guess at that point, the board will ponder their next move. So at this point, they have not taken any action any further towards that end of consolidation.
Thank you. And transportation stipends. Daniel, do you want to talk about that process? I know you've done a lot of work with that. Did we lose him again? Nope, he's there.
Abby, are you guys not seeing raised hands?
No, I can see your hand raised there, Crystal. So while we're waiting for Dan to be able to, for us to be able to hear him, Crystal, what's your question? Was it a question for Bob?
No, I thought it was for Bob. I guess it'll be for you now. So I gather from Cord's letter that he feels confident that bus won't need to be replaced immediately. Is that what I gather?
I think that that's still going to come up for discussion, and he'll probably provide more information. The bus has been running with some repair issues. So as of now, everything's running great. To say that he thinks one way or another about the replacement plan, I'm not ready to speak on that. But I do believe that, especially with budget coming up here, we'll be talking more about what that would look like. But as far as I know, the bus that we currently have is running really well. And whether or not that is something that's replaced or kept, I think is still in the pipeline. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Daniel, you there?
Yes, and I'm sorry, folks. I'm pretty limited in this time spot, so I do apologize.
That's all right. If you can touch on the transportation stipends, I know you've done a lot of work with that.
Yeah, so at the suggestion of Bob, I looked at our budgeted students and I looked at the amount of costs to business, to bus transportation. Sorry, I got a child in my ear. And it equaled about 1,000 per month, and 80/20, it's about 1,000 per family. So I suggest that would be a good amount per applicant.
It's so the question I just hear per month, so it's 1,000 for the year, not $1,000 a month, right?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a little distracted. I appreciate you.
Okay, and that is for, and just to be clear, for parents that are not able to take or their children are not going to Townsend, so transportation is not provided. So if they are sending their child to an independent or public or private school, or public school for that matter, that is not part of what transportation is offered for, they are eligible to apply for that, correct?
That's correct.
And then the process to do that is to what? Because I have had people ask, they just send an email or?
Yeah, and someone from the SU could probably answer that a little better, but I believe there's been applicants to the SU, but copying the entire board would probably be a good idea.
So Heidi, are you getting those tuition requests?
Originally, Lori was getting them. There is a link for that, and we can certainly resend it out. Lori just needs to turn it into so it sends it to me. But we had received 2 requests. One filled out the W-9 paperwork that they needed to. The other one had not done that. So there is the requirement that they have to fill out a W-9 in order to get paid.
Okay. So that's clears up that. Moving on up, Lori. There she is. Go for it, Lori.
I'm curious though that they apply, but when would the board like the payments to go out, right? Because you wouldn't want to pay them probably until the end of the year because, if they decide to go to a different school or whatever. So I think that we just need to finish up that part of the process so Heidi knows when to pay the people that have applied and filled out the paperwork.
Maybe we can add that to our next agenda to discuss a timeline as to when that would be, because I would imagine as a parent paying out of pocket, it'd be nice if you're transporting your kids to have that money to help. And with the holidays coming up, it may be worth considering a way to think about if it's possible to get the folks who've already applied access to the funding sooner than later. But we'll add that to the next agenda.
Yeah, and we originally were looking at Stratton's model when they paid out transportation stipends. Bob, do you happen to know Bob just dropped. Yeah, we'll look into those details and talk about it next agenda.
Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. Tax bills.
So I think Bob dropped. Looks like Bob dropped. So I'll go ahead and take this one. May I share my screen? I have the document that I sent to both Abby and Dan. I'm not sure if the public has seen this document, although it is posted in the board documents on the WCSU board website.
Lori, you should be co-host and should be able to share screen, but let me know if you can't.
Perfect. Thank you. Can everybody see my document there? I'm going to
Not
try to
yet.
make it.
Not yet.
Oh, there.
There we go.
Okay. Just would like to make it a little bit bigger here. All right. So, first of all, I'd really like to apologize on behalf of us for this error. I'm going to go down through this document and just kind of show you the timeline of how everything happened and what the solution is. It's not lost money, lost tax money, but we would just like to apologize at the beginning here. So the June 14th, the budget collection was entered into the budget collection system and the data was sent to the AOE. So this was after the statutory June 1st due date for the budget collection data because of the late vote in Windham. So this was after the fact that was done. The budget that was uploaded to the AOE was the incorrect budget data. It was an error. There were multiple versions of the budget, as you all can remember through the budgeting process. And the wrong data was inadvertently input into the budget collection system. The incorrect data resulted in an overpayment of education spending in the amount of $54,768. So that results in an estimated tax rate being higher than we expected it to be because we asked for more ed spending money to support the school. The error was discovered when the cash flow statements came out from the AOE on 9/22, and immediately upon discovery, the SU notified the AOE of the error as it was required by statute 16 VSA 4030. I'm not sure if I'm reading that correctly. Based on the statute cited above, no changes to the data can be made after July 15th. So there was no way to correct this. And at that point in time in September, to resend out tax bills to your taxpayers. As stated in 16 VSA of the statute, the overpayment will be carried forward to the following year. So for fiscal year 20, the fiscal year 25 overpayment will essentially go right into your fiscal year 26 budget as offsetting revenue. So thereby decreasing that tax that was increased this year. While this unfortunate error is not common in our SU or statewide, several other districts experience similar issues with multiple budget drafts and delayed voting in this tumultuous budget year. In response, the AOE is updating its data collection process. It's a manual entry right now. It's all hand keyed in, and so errors can happen. And they will be pulled directly from our accounting system in the future, and that is statewide. That is happening. So they're actually repulling fiscal year 25's data and going forward for fiscal year 26. The process is changing because other districts had this issue as well. And again, you know, we apologize. This is not common for us. So to the taxpayers, to the board, we're sorry.
Thank you, Lori. Anybody have questions for Lori? Let me see here. Maureen Bell.
Thanks, Abby. Lori, are there any implications other than just the raw number, the $54,000? Are there any other percentages that were, did they come out differently because of that $54,000 error?
Well, yes, your tax rate was higher than it should have been because of that $54,000 error.
Okay. Thank you.
But it will come back to you next year. There obviously there are other issues, or not issues, but there'll be other things in play for fiscal year 26, like the yield and other things that will affect your tax rate. But that 54,000 will go to buying down the tax rate in fiscal year 26.
How much did it increase our tax rate?
No, it's going to be called it's offsetting revenue, so it decreases what you would take from the ed fund.
How much did it increase our tax rate this year? How many cents on the?
When we finally figured out, so we didn't have the CLA to begin with. We didn't have the CLA until I don't know, August or September when it came, or no, maybe it was July that it came out. So we were estimating a tax rate anyways on what you would have gone to town meeting with or the second vote. So we didn't have that, but what we are figuring now with the correct CLA and this additional money, it was roughly 10 cents.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, not seeing any other hands up. Thank you for sharing that, Lori. And we're on to preliminary budget.
Great. Thanks, Abby. So just a brief overview again. I had sent paperwork, I think, a month ago regarding how 24 ended up, but I just want to touch base about that again. So the Windham budget ended with a surplus of $5,829.38 for 24. There had been a deficit because of money being moved into the transportation budget previously. So this brought that deficit down to $23,389.05. So I sent board members back before the first original plan meeting a profit and loss statement showing the status of the expenses currently, and from the expectations of the income coming in, which Kathy Scott did give us a little bit of money to get into the account so we could continue to pay bills, but we're waiting on a tax payment. We haven't received any money from the state for transportation. That comes later in the year, and we haven't received any lease income. So there really hasn't been any income yet, but with expenses encumbered for tuition and the expenses we've paid so far for the bus and the electric and what we expect to pay out for Cord's salary, right now as it stands, it looks like you're going to have a surplus of around $60,000 for the end of fiscal year 25, in addition to that $54,967 that was an overpayment for 25. So barring no huge bus expenses, you may have 115,000, give or take. So maybe we should just say 100,000 to put towards your taxes next year, or to move into an operational reserve if you were to create one. You currently hold $105,805 in your capital reserve for a new bus. And so again, to use that for anything other than purchasing a bus, you'd have to vote on it. But I just want to be clear that that's sitting there in your bus fund, and we're hoping for a nice surplus at the end of this year. So going forward, I'm assuming you want a preliminary budget to review at the November meeting, and I am looking for whether we are keeping it status quo. I see that you have a meeting scheduled for the select board, and I'm guessing that's going to be about the building. But so I'm looking for what you are thinking and what you want me to bring to you in November.
So clearly, as we're just getting started here, I think my understanding is, we've been trying to investigate, and I don't think Kathy Edgerly's on here, as far as what community trust could look like. We're clearly having meetings with the select board. Is this going to be a building that the town's interested in purchasing? So those discussions are taking place, and I really kind of see that we're able to make a direction one way or other when it comes to the building. So as far as the budget goes, clearly we need to make sure we're covering the transportation that we're covering and the tuition costs. So that would make sense to me to...
Yeah, at this point, I think it makes sense to take off the building from the preliminary budget.
Okay, so I'll take off those expenses, and I will apply at least the 54,000 right off the top, so you can see how that will affect it, and we'll continue to hope for another surplus.
Is there anything that's preventing us from just hiring a licensed daycare provider and operating this place as a daycare ourselves?
Like as the district running it as a daycare?
Can I mention one thing that concerns me? Right now, so for fiscal year 26, there is a threshold coming back for per pupil costs. Right now, you're underneath it and may stay well underneath it, but if you had an influx of tuition students, I don't know if that will happen. If you were to go over the threshold, you would then be paying 118% on the expenses on anything over the threshold. So my concern is if you run a daycare and keep the expenses of a building in your budget, you may be paying an additional tax that the town would not have, that the school district has. So that's my one thought on that.
Now, in
That's a
daycare,
maybe. That depends on how, that could go.
But it depends on a lot of things. It's just one thing I wanted to point out.
and then, now are you talking daycare or preschool?
Yes. We would,
Well,
it would depend upon what the
What the
community
need is.
what the need is. But, at a minimum, to expand what's being done here right now we don't have what's needed is a licensed director, so you can have more kids in here. You can have up to 10 preschoolers per 10. When I looked up the rules, you could have up to 10 3 to 5 year olds per teacher if you're operating a daycare for 3 to 5 year olds. And I'm not sure if that's called a preschool or a daycare, but we would just need a director. What you need to expand beyond what we're using this building for now is a licensed daycare director.
So with that, I think that also raises some questions too of, because we have the work to meet with the select board and, are there members in the community that are working towards trying to develop a community trust that would look into that? We still have to talk with, oh my gosh, I wish Kathy was here. I can't remember her name. Jessica Savage from about kind of what all of this can look like. But I'm not sure if it was childcare, if it would necessarily have to be under the school district versus school if it was preschool. So I think
I'm not sure.
There's so that's some stuff to look into. But I think, Heidi, for now, the easiest bet is to do that because there's a lot of questions that maybe could be looked into. But I also don't know if that would matter. Like if let's say hypothetically the town buys the building, well, wouldn't the town be able to run a daycare in its building? It's not, and it wouldn't be paying twice as much to the state.
That was just my point. Like who's running it. There's an advantage to the town running it over the school district running it. That's all.
But that's, if it was to be looked at and there was interest for folks that wanted it to be preschool, I think that's a different criteria than just childcare because that's schooling, and I don't know how that would look. But yeah, just to keep it easy peasy for now.
And when I bring the preliminary budget in November, obviously you don't have to vote on it. We have time.
Right.
So it will be a working document that you can tell me, direct me accordingly at that time.
Right. So, but just to be clear, I think what we have been working for and towards thus far has been, how is this going to transition and what's the best way to transition the building? And that's kind of where all the studies and stuff are going to come in to help mold that process. So for now, yeah, budget to just be the tuition and transportation, and that should be easy enough. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for the direction.
So, and I see a couple hands up. So I have Maureen, Crystal, and then Michael Pelton. So go ahead, Maureen.
Yeah, just a quick question, Abby. I heard several people mention the meeting with the select board. Has a date been set for that meeting?
I believe it was November 14th.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Crystal.
Abby, I just want to remind you, like from the Jamaica meeting, that they talked about if the school had closed and if the town acquired it, then a private preschool, pre-kindergarten, kind of like a Timpson Hill thing, could operate more easily in that building if it is town owned.
Yeah. Thank you, Crystal. Michael Pelton?
Yeah, I'm wondering, probably Bob might, I don't know if he knows, he probably knows, he's the head honcho there. So I'm wondering about this licensing piece with a preschool. I'm assuming that Jamaica operates a preschool, and I'm assuming that Townsend operates a preschool. I could be wrong. And I'm assuming that there is some sort of licensing that is required. And I don't know if it's one person who oversees multiple buildings, but I'm wondering if, at least in the short term, perhaps not the long term, but if licensing is the issue in our town, perhaps there's some way that the SU might be able to oversee utilizing some of its licensed staff to ease the local licensing along, if that makes any sense.
If I understand your question correctly, you're talking about utilizing the SU expertise and staff to help run a private daycare center in the Windham School building. Is that what you're asking?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, if the school district wanted to, for instance, operate a licensed preschool under its purview, at least until the end of the year, if there's, I don't know, I'm assuming there's going to be other plans coming along, but and licensing currently is the problem with the local person who's running it. The SU likely has licensed staff that oversee, I don't know if it's one person that oversees the two buildings or how that works, but maybe that could sort of augment and ease things along, just at least until things get squared away.
Yeah, no, I understand. Okay, so the SU doesn't operate the preschool centers. The West River District does, and they have in the Townsend building, the principal acts as the pre-K director and manages the paperwork for licensing. And at JVS, the pre-K teacher actually serves as the director at that site, and so they're responsible individually for a wide range of duties. If people have researched the guidelines for pre-Ks, dozens of pages long, every single one of those elements is the responsibility of the pre-K director, and that's for public pre-Ks. So private entities are a little bit different. So I guess you have to figure out what you're looking at. But the short answer to your question is the SU doesn't have staff to supervise that. The West River District operates two public pre-Ks in two different buildings, overseen by two different. So does that help?
Yes, that clarifies a lot. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Michael. iPhone Pat M. Is that Pat McLean? I see your hand raised. iPhone Pat M. I'm making a guess here, Pat, that it's Pat McLean. If so, you're muted. Okay. Well, I think that's what we have so far for the preliminary budget, right, Heidi? I think that should be kind of some easy peasy direction for now.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect, thank you. So moving along on the agenda, the BCTV Award. So I'd like to announce and share that the Windham School District Board as well as the Windham Select Board have been nominated for the BCTV Municipal Partner of the Year. And there will be a fun ceremony on November 13th between 6 and 8 p.m. at the Stone Church in Brattleboro. I know I still need to connect with Johnny. I'll be doing an interview with him, as well as I think a member from the select board will be interviewed as well. So we're pretty excited and honored to have received that award through BCTV. It's been a fabulous experience. Big thank you to Brian and Peter and Johnny and Helena. It's a great team, and you guys have really helped us out. So what an honor, and thank you very much. Pat, this will be your last chance here to come unmuted before I motion to adjourn. So if you have something, I see your hands up. I don't know if you're unable to mute. I don't think I can. No, it won't let me unmute you. So, all right. Well, Pat, hopefully you can attend our next meeting.
Can you hear me now?
Yay, there you are. Okay, go ahead, Pat.
Sorry, it took us a long time to figure out how to work this on the cell phone. Yeah, I had a question. There is a contract for the building right now with a daycare, and can I ask for how long has that contract been in place?
So I am not 100% sure of when it became in place. I want to say probably August, if I'm guessing of when, because there's a lot of change that happened. But I could be wrong on that, but we could get you that information, Pat. To be clear, it is private childcare. It's not daycare yet. So, some of the challenges with getting that to become daycare have kind of come out through this meeting. I think you might not have been able to catch some of that, but there's some outside the box thinking as to how to better support that effort of getting that up and running for childcare, and what that would look like. So there's a variety of things, but as of right now, it is private childcare. So that bless you. That was in hopes to. Okay, who is that?
So my question was then, if the contract's been in place for 3 months, that the district hasn't been paid at all, no money's been received yet?
I don't believe so. I have no idea. So
This is Bob. Can I jump in?
yes, please.
So just to clarify, there is no contract in place. The board has not voted on any lease agreement in the public session to move forward. That the SU has not received a copy of a lease. I know the board has shared a copy, has worked through a copy with their legal team, with Mr. Oettinger, but to my knowledge, there has not been a contract or lease approved in the public session of the board.
You are right. They were, so I misspoke, and I apparently wasn't even paying attention to what Daniel had said earlier, but he did mention that. So no, the contract is not, it is ready to be available, but they are there's something to do with licensing, right? Is that what we got? That there was something with licensing and they're trying to finish the licensing. And once that is done per the contract, they would be licensed and then they could present the contract. So I haven't seen that contract. But it's also.
The building's being used right now.
The building's being used by quite a few people. So there's the Friends of the Windham Schoolhouse, the Historical Society, yoga. I think people have been down here for music. There's a variety of things that are going on with the building and special meetings.
Is the daycare in the building?
I don't believe that the private child care is, they're not like in here every day. I'm not sure how often they are in here. A lot of the scheduling is, as far as the building use, I think has been being taken care of by the Friends. So I can get that information and find out. Or Daniel can get to you information with that, Pat. But it was in an effort to transition from private child care to daycare so that it could become more available. So this was like the stepping stone process, and it's been taking longer than expected. And so that's kind of what we've run into. But at the same time, it's not the only thing that's going on here at the building. So I want to also give quick thanks to the Friends of the Windham Schoolhouse and the Historical Society, because I believe they were down here yesterday cleaning, and the building looks great. So it was definitely cleaned up and vacuumed, and I really kind of went above and beyond in the cleaning department. But thanks to all those folks, because that was really really great of them to chip in and take care of that. So now with all that out there, I would like to motion to adjourn. It is 18:10 or 6:10 p.m. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
I can't vote yet.
All right, any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you everyone for your attendance, and look forward to seeing folks in a couple weeks. Have a good one.
Thanks, Abby.
Thank you. Bye.